What's up guys, my name is Wakar and I am incredibly exhausted. So today I was playing in the Digimon official Bandai tournament hosted by CoreTCG, and it was 8 rounds long. So this was a tournament that was for 1.0, and I was expecting it to be 1.5, but understandably they decided this past week not to allow 1.5 just because a lot of people don't have their product in by now. So I decided I was just not gonna try and have fun with this, and ended up, looks like I'm gonna get top 16. My record was, let's see, there were 8 rounds. I'm 6-1-1, 1 tie, 1 loss, and it looks like my loss is to the person who is in the finals right now. I think they're still playing, so I'm not sure if he's gonna top. I'm really hoping he does. Shout out to, what is his name? Lichy King? It's Lich King with an extra I. So Lichy King? I don't know. So yeah, it looks like they're still playing. Looks like they have a judge in there as well. So we'll see how that goes. Anyways, so I decided I'm gonna play Wargreymon, Red Wargreymon specifically, because you know there's the black one as well. And I know a lot of you probably don't care about 1.0 decks anymore, but I still wanted to show this to you guys just because it was kind of an unconventional deck in my opinion, just because a lot of people didn't see my plays coming. They didn't know what some of my cards did, and yeah, I just want to demo that for you guys really quick and then upload this. And I'm honestly going to be very lazy about editing because I'm exhausted again, and it is like 6:20 right now. I was hoping to just play 3 rounds of 1.0 and just drop and just have fun with it, but that's again not what ended up happening. Anyways, I'm just going to jump right into it. So for my Digi-Eggs, I play 4 Coromon, and the reason I play Coromon is because my Digi-Evolution lines are really important in this, and I don't care as much about attacking into other Digimon. I really want to attack security, and Red's whole thing is big security attack plus 1s. These will probably in 1.5 be replaced with the Digimon, whatever, and this one will turn into a single Coromon. But again, I don't know if I'm going to play this specific. I'm probably not going to play this specific deck in 1.5, just because, yeah, probably not as viable. All right, moving on to the rookies. I am going to be running 3 Agumon. That's pretty standard. This is the starter deck Agumon. Your Digimon, its inheritable is you gain 1,000 during your turn. And then I am actually playing 3 copies of the promo Agumon. And what this does, if you're not already aware, it's the same stats as this Agumon, 0 Digivolution cost, 3 to play, 2,000 DP, but it gives any of its inheritable is that your Digimon with Greymon in their name during your turn gain 2,000 instead of the 1. So the reason I played 3 is because honestly you only have 3. But I think 3 was a good number actually. In retrospect, I was hoping to pull a 4th one, just because some of the times you don't want to be swinging with your guys that aren't Greymon. So like for example, like if you digivolve into a Volcanic Dramon or like an Omnimon, Agumon will still help. This Agumon will still help you like swing over other Omnimon in security, whereas this one won't, since it only works with Greymon. All right, next I am playing, let's see, 4 Monodramon. So just 2-drop vanilla. So this was actually a Gyomon before I started putting in the Agumon. I think this was a good number. I'm not like really married to these ratios for the rookies. The Agumon for sure. This Agumon I think is decent. The 4 I think is a good number. You could probably bump this down to a 3 if you wanted to and put another Agumon or a Gyomon or something. And then 3 Biomon. So I usually play 6 vanillas, but I upped it to 7 in this tournament, and I think it worked out pretty well overall. So that's all for the rookies. That is a total of should be 14. So 3, 4, 4. Yep. That's 6 and 8. So 14 rookies. Moving on to the champions. The champion lineup for this deck is very straightforward for Red in 1.0. I have 4 Greymon, security attack plus 1 as an inheritable, pretty good. 5 drop, which isn't terrible, but I mean it sucks when you do have to play it. 4 Dark Tyranno, just to rush to your Wargreymon and your Omnimon faster. Some people could probably say this is an Omnimon deck. I would disagree. I only have 2 Omnimon, and I'm running both of them. So yeah, I wouldn't consider it an Omnimon deck. And then I have, let's see, 4 Quadramon, standard blocker, nothing else there. So that's all. That is 12, right? Yep, 12 champions, 12 level 4s. Moving on to the ultimates. I have the standard Ground Dramon at 4. Low Digivolution cost, low drop. Plenty of times I hard dropped this for 5 just because I had no other plays. Like there are plenty of times I bricked opening hand. As by brick I mean like no rookies, no champions, and and I just had to hard drop this, and then sometimes it actually ended up working out. So Groundramon's really, really good. I see a lot of people cutting this in 1.5 for Wargreymon. I don't know if I would do that, honestly. Like, I think the 4 is good, 3 at the very least, just because the 5 drop is really good. Like Wargreymon, I think it's a 7 drop, and that 2 extra memory can definitely hurt. All right, next up is Skullgreymon. So I played 2. These were really, really clutch. There was a time where my opponent just tried. It was really close. I don't remember the exact game, but they had a blocker. They played a blocker, and they gave me a lot of memory. I think they played. I think it might have been a Metal Seedramon, and they returned a bunch of stuff to my hand, and I was sitting at 9 or 10, and I had game. I could have had game if it wasn't for their blocker, so I just dropped this and then swung with my Wargreymon for I think how many security checks, and then I had game following after that. And then finally, to round off the level 5s. I have 2 Metal Greymon. Honestly, this never really came up. The theory behind this was that your Wargreymon is going to have a lot of security attack +1s from your tie, from its own effect, and from the Greymon underneath it. And if your opponent is forced to block you, they have to give you 3 memory. My opponent never really did that. It never came to a scenario where they had to block me, and usually they just let it through. But maybe that did work in my favor. I mean, again, I looks like I'm getting top 16. So yeah, it's pretty good. In terms of replacing this with Metal Tyrannomon, I tested Metal Tyrannomon for the longest time. I don't know, I don't care too much for it. And let me explain why. I have Agumon underneath here usually, and if he's 8k, you really don't have to worry as much about the other things that you're going to be checking in security, which are also 7, because you can just swing over them. So the only thing you have to really worry about is running into 10Ks if your opponents are playing, the 10K level 5s or Megas. And even with Metal Tyrannomon, you're not going to be able to swing over any of the Megas anyway, so why worry about that too much? I did, though, see a lot of people playing blue who were running a lot of loader Leomon today, which is the 10K. So that's the only thing this wouldn't be able to hit over, but overall, it wasn't bad. I think. Would I cut it out for something else? I don't know. At least for 1.0, definitely not. 1.5, yeah. And 1.5, these 2 are definitely going to be replaced with Wargreymon, low evolution cost. 2 Digivolution cost is good. And in terms of, I was also debating between running this, and since I'm running the promo Agumon, if I can run the Memory Borrower Metal Greymon. I was running that for a while, but that just doesn't work with a theme for this deck, because what I want to do is, because for the my big drops, I'm playing Memory Borrowers, which you'll see in a minute. That's kind of the spice of this deck, but it doesn't work with the theme of this deck at all, and I'll talk more about that when I get to it. Anyway, so that is 8 level 5s, going on to the level 6s. Right, so I played 3 of the BT1 Red Wargreymon. So his effect is really good. You don't check option effects of insecurity when he checks them. So he is only 11 and he's a 3-cost Digivolution, but more often than not, you have to really kind of decide when it's worth playing him. He gets on Digivolution security attack +1. That doesn't always come up. It does a lot of the times, but sometimes you'll be sitting at lower memory and you want to Digivolve into him, but it feels bad if you have 1 memory or 2 memory Digivolving into him and then not getting the additional security attack +1 because it only does last for the turn. But his other effect where he doesn't check option cards is so good. There are times where I played against so again, there are 8 rounds today. I played against 5 Omnimon Blue. And just checking Hammer Spark is so good with him. You're sitting at 1, and then your opponent's oh well, I'll probably, if they hit a Hammer Spark, they'll get really excited. But you swing with it with Wargreymon, it's no, it doesn't check that. I also played 2 2 green-blue Rush decks, Champion Rookie Rush variants, and they're both pretty similar. And one time I swung into their security with this guy, and it was Flower Cannon followed by Hammer Spark. So that was ridiculous. That would have been really bad if I swung with it. Then it swung into it with Volcanic Dramon or a Phoenix Mon or anything else like that. So this card is really clutch. I think 3 is a good number. I might bump it to 4 again. This is 1.0, and now it's gonna be 1.5. So I'm not gonna talk about what I would replace this with because I honestly probably won't play the second 1.5. It is a very fun deck though, I think. All right. Then I'm playing 2 Volcanic Dramon. I made the last-second decision to cut out my Phoenix Mon for 2 Volcanics. They actually did come up in the 2 matches that I played against those Rush decks, and they did save me the game. So good decision there. There were times where I was missing the Phoenix Mon for sure, definitely. But I think this is a good card to have in here. I might cut it to 1. I don't know. Again, this is 1.0, and going forward we're in 1.5. I keep forgetting that, but regardless, if I was playing like I don't know. This is what I ran for this tournament though, and then I was running the one Big Punch Wargreymon from starter deck 1. This never came up. Like, honestly, never came up. The only times I drew into this, I already had like another Wargreymon or another Volcanic in hand, and they seemed like the better play at the time. It did come up in testing once, where my opponent was like sitting there thinking they had game, or they were in a good position with all their security, and I came in with this security attack, and I did 4 or 5 checks just in one turn, and then checked them with, and then gamed them with a rookie that I had already. So this card, like, it's really gimmicky. It's really fun when you do pull it off, but like I will probably cut this for a Phoenixmon, for sure. Like it didn't come up. I only wanted to play it just so I can say I'm playing a Wargreymon deck. Honestly, this is still what this deck feels like to me. It feels like a Wargreymon deck. It doesn't feel like Omnimon to me. But yeah, that's why he's in here. He would probably be cut if I had to go back. And then 2 Omnimon, because I have to, and why not, right? Like, there were games where I did feel like if I had a third one, it would be good. Like, I was playing against Blue Omni, and he won 1 round by dropping... he went through 3 Omnimon, and I only had 2, and I knew, like, I either had to Gaia Force it, and since I didn't have another Omnimon, that was my only out. But yeah, that's all for my Digimon lineup. Overall, I think it's pretty standard when it comes to, like, Omni Dex ratio, except, you know, just 2 Omni. But yeah. Now for the Tamers. I play 2 starter deck tie. Now, I know a lot of people playing Omnimon decks don't run, or sorry, not the starter deck, this is the BT Memory Tamer tie. I know a lot of people playing Omnimon Turbo decks don't play the Tamers. And that works fine for Blue, because Blue has access to Hammer Spark, but we don't. And the other thing is, this is, again, a Wargreymon deck, right? This isn't an Omnimon deck. And I have, like, having tie on the board to resolve Wargreymon Security Attack +1 is really good. So you know you're going to start off at 3. If you have a level 5 on the board already, you're just going to Digivolve over it, go to 0, and then you swing for 2, and then you could potentially drop an Omnimon or play like a rookie or something else, or Digivolve something else, and then put your opponent at 2 or something. So that's really good. That's really important there. And again, it does enable that Omnimon play, and if you have like Agumon or some other boost under him, I think Agumon and Koromon are the only ones that are really relevant here. You swing into security. If you have the promo Agumon, he's at 13, so you can swing over Placiomons or, like, you know, the vanilla 12Ks, and that's really good there. So you have, like, the only thing you fear at that point is just an Omnimon or a Millenniummon, at least in 1.0. Again, we're going into 1.5. So I think this pair is really important, and there's another card that comes in really, really handy, which yeah, it's next. Actually, first, before we get to that, 3 Gaia Force. Gaia Force is a great card. Like, there's nothing else you can say about Gaia Force. The only thing we can talk about here is why did I run 3 versus 4? This was a really difficult decision, honestly. I really went back and forth about this. I'm like, do I want to run 4? Do I want to run 3? Pros of running 4, you have more chances of running into this in your security. And so your opponent will run into them, and then you can destroy something on their board, and it really turns around the game. It can, like, really break your opponent's momentum, and especially, like, there was one game where I was playing and my opponent just, like, built a really, really large stack. They were playing Blue Omni, and they swung into my stack, and, like, I guess they weren't expecting, like, to hit Gaia Force as the first thing. They had Security Attack +1 or something. They were playing a Wargreymon underneath there, and I just destroyed their Placio. And that really shifted the momentum in my favor, because I had a bunch of smaller dudes, and they only had 1 big stack. So yeah, so those are the pros of it. The cons, like, if you have, if it's a longer game, sometimes I'll wind up with, like, 2 or 3 Gaia Forces in hand, and that doesn't really help, like, because Gaia Force is an 8-cost card to play. So realistically, in most cases, you're only going to be able to play 1 during that turn. It's nice to have a follow-up one if your opponent builds up another stack, and then also pairs well with a Volcanic Dramon, because if your opponent doesn't build up and they build out, you can Volcanic, which I think is always a fun combo. So I always feel more confident having both of these in hand at the same time. But yeah, I ended up cutting it for a different card, and that card is, I think, like, the main spice of the deck, and that is 3 Gravity Crush. This is the MVP. Like, I'm not gonna lie, this won me this is the reason I'm getting top 16. Otherwise, I would have lost to Blue Omni in more than one match. And here's the reason why. People don't know what this card does. Like, I've heard a lot of people say, oh, I've always wanted to build a deck with Gravity Crush. I've heard like multiple people when I mention Gravity Crush, they're like, oh, that's a really neat idea. Gravity Crush is pretty cool. But I haven't seen any deck utilize this yet. And if I'm wrong, link down in the comments, like linking to a deck where people do use this effectively. Because I'm really interested in that, like, sincerely. And this is the reason why I wanted to make this video, because it is 1.0 and you guys probably don't care. But Gravity Crush, I think, is a card that's pretty slept on. Keep in mind, we're playing red, right? We don't have access to any memory manipulation at all whatsoever. Like, blue has, you know, they have their Leomon, they have Goma, and they have Hammer Spark, of course. We have nothing. Like, so when our opponent gives us an amount of memory, they expect us to play with just that amount of memory. Worst case scenario, they know Ty's on the board, so they're gonna play around Ty. No one ever sees the Gravity Crush coming. I've had games where people are like, they put me to 1 thinking they're memory choking me, and I have like, I'll be close to game, or like I'll have some kind of really nice position, and I'll have a level 5 with some other dudes underneath it, for example, and they're thinking like they're safe, right? If I have like Greymon underneath my ultimate, what I'll do is, like, say I have CoreTCG, and I'm at 1, right? So it's my turn. Say I don't have Ty, and they're memory choking me, thinking that they're safe. I'll play Gravity Crush. I'll go to 3. And the first thing that'll happen is that your opponent will ask you, oh, what's that card do again? Because like no one remembers what Gravity Crush does because no one uses it. Then you Digivolve into your Wargreymon. You go to 0. You swing at security. Now at this part, like, you have to be careful about what's underneath here. If you have Promo Agumon, that's really good because he's 13. The only thing you fear at that point is Millenniummon and Omnimon, because with 13. With 13 you can swing over all your vanillas. So the Agumon is important, or you can have the regular starter deck Agumon along with a Koromon underneath here, but then you have to have that full stack. So you swing at your opponent's security, you check 1, 2, 3, 3 checks total, and then you drop an Omnimon, put them at 6, and they go to 8. And 8 memory is a lot to work with, especially for like Blue Omni or something, but it's really unexpected for them. They don't expect that, and no one plays around that. But a lot of times, like, you know, they think they're safe, but they're not, right? They think that there's no way you're going to be able to get into an Omnimon, especially if they already have their own Omnimon. I've done this before, where they have their own Omnimon on the board, thinking I don't have a response. And, like, it's just been sitting there for a while, and somehow I end up at 1. I just play this, and then I can Omnimon their Omnimon, and that's really good, I think. The other thing is that if you have Ty, if you have a champion, if you have a level 4 and you have a CoreTCG and you have a Wargreymon in hand, I mean, it takes a lot of setting up, right? So if you have these 3 in hand and you have these 2 on your board, if you have these 2 in hand, I'm tired, again, it's been a long day. If you have these 2 in hand and these 2 on your board, again, it does still take a bit more setup, but okay. That's not what I wanted to show you. All right. So if you have these 3 in hand, I'm gonna have to edit this. Okay. All right. So if you have these 2 on the board and these 3 in hand, which requires a lot of setup, I understand. But you start off at 3 for sure, right? You Digivolve into your Groundramon for 2. So you go to 1, you draw for that, you play Gravity Crush, you go to 3, you play your Wargreymon, you go to 0, you swing, you make a big swing with 1, 2, 3 checks, and then you drop the Omnimon. And again, that is another play that can come up, and really your opponent doesn't anticipate it. And then let's talk about the other way this actually won me the games. This didn't win me the games the way with the combo I showed you. This won me games because I played a lot of Blue Omni. And with Blue Omni, like, sometimes they have Gomamon underneath their Digimon, right? So there were games where it came really close, and like we were both really close to, you know, losing or winning, whatever. And they had blockers on the field, and they had Gomamon underneath their blockers, and he was thinking that if he, and this came out multiple times, this wasn't against just one opponent, they thought that if they block me, I'm at 1, for example, if they block my big Wargreymon or my Omnimon, whatever I have on the board, they're thinking, oh, I'm just gonna block it, and then it'll be my turn. Because, like, say I get to 0, Yeah, and there were times where they had 2 blockers and they had 2 Gomamon, but they're thinking they're safe. You drop the Gravity Crush and you swing at security. And if you have Wargreymon, you don't fear your opponent's Hammer Sparks. Scenario 1 actually came up. Scenario 2, you have only seen a few Hammer Sparks in your opponent's security, and you have lethal, but if they have Hammer Spark, you can't beat them because you have smaller guys on the board or something like that. You play my final game that I had. Again, I was thinking 3 might be too much, but I'm glad I played 3 because one of the matches that I won, he had Goma. I was thinking he had 2 securities left. One of them was I was thinking it would probably be what's it called? Gravity Crush. And so what I did was, okay, I just dropped both of these, and then I swung. He blocked something. I swung again. It was exactly what I thought it would be, but that's still game. Like there was nothing. Like if it had I not had this in hand, and I'd just been holding it for the entire game because the Wargreymon play never came up. Like I just played through his Gravity Crush. His Hammer Spark, and I think that's really good. The only downside to this card, it has no security effect, and you have to pay them back. So it's not as good as blue, but I think this card is really slept on, and I think it's underrated, and I would test it out. That's all I had for you guys. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, leave it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, all that fun stuff. It's like 6:30 now. I'm gonna go eat and whatnot. Let's see, when does this round end? It ends at 6:40. It's 6:40 now, so overtime's probably about to start. But yeah, again, I'm probably gonna get top 16 at this point, it seems like. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in 1.5.